Well, hello everybody. This morning I'm going to do my first charge cycle since I installed the battery monitor on my Battleborn lithium-ion batteries. According to the monitor, I don't need to charge them yet. It says it's at 90% state of charge. Yet I look at the voltages being monitored on both of the 12-volt batteries, and they indicate, if you look at a state of charge chart, they're indicating about 50 to 60% SOC. So things don't line up exactly. At this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I've got a portable generator out here, and I'm going to fire that dude up, and we're going to monitor the voltages on the system. I'm going to have my data logger run, and we're going to see what happens. To keep it from being a distraction, I have disconnected the leads that go from the charger to the engine starting battery. So the triple bank charger should be operating as a 2-bank charger, and in principle should be putting 10 amps into each one and not trying to monitor the 3rd bank. And we'll see if that makes a difference from the last time I charged, which seemed like it took a excessively long time to do. So I'm going to get my equipment set up here and fire it up, and well, before I do, I'm going to just show you where we're at. The system monitor is showing 90% state of charge, but it's showing 13.15. If you go to the chart, I don't have my detail chart, but you can see 13.1 is 40%, 13.2 is 70. You know, we're about midway in between. And in my detailed chart, that says, hey, about 50, 55. So we've got 13.15. It says I've only used 10 amp hours. And I've been running this. We'll see if we can get the... And from a history point of view, it says I've taken 10 amp hours discharge, cumulative, and it's been 35 days since I charged last. I've been out quite a number of hours fishing. I mean, I've not been running it full trolling. A lot of times I'm doing what you call the spot or anchor lock mode, where it's just sitting still. But it sure seemed like I should have used a lot more than 10%. So in any case, like I say, I'm going to get my system going here, and we're going to get fired up. Okay, so I'm set up with my voltmeter. My logging system is ready to go. We're at 13.1 on that meter. 1.7. And the charger's booting up. Charger's up and running. The monitor says 13.32, says we're putting about 8.5 or 9 amps into it, or 100 watts. The graph back there is, on the laptop, is reading 3.25, 3.26, and that's pretty consistent. My old Radio Shack meter has just a small amount of offset. It's like 0.05 or 0.06-ish. So I'm not surprised at that. So if we charge, the way this is set up is my charger currently is running in double bank mode, and it should be taking its 20 amps and putting it between the 2 batteries. So if I'm reading 8.5 or 9 on each battery, that says I'm putting full capacity of the charger. I'll be back later and monitor it, and we'll see how it does. Alright, I'm back for a check. We're almost an hour and a half in, hour and 25 minutes. The state of charge shows 99% based on amp hours, but we're only at 13.34 on the voltage, which tells me we have a long ways to go. And then the current is only about 5 amps. The current is tailing off. The charging profile, while it works, using this, I don't know if I can get a good look there. It's a Promariner 20 plus, Pro Sport 20 plus, and it's a triple bank charger. It's using a lead acid profile with limits that are okay for the lithium battery, but I'm only charging at 5 amps right now. So it's going to take it a while to get all the way through to its max. Current is right there just below 5 amps. So that'll give me an idea how long it's going to take to finish charging, I guess. It needs to hit 14.4 in order to equalize the cells and consider a max. See, now it says 100%. It thinks it's there, when we know in reality that it's still got a ways to go. Okay, we're still charging. It's been about 3.5 hours on charge, and the monitor says, well, it said 100% 2 hours ago, but voltage is at 13.4. It's still charging, but it's charging at about 4.5 amps, and 13.4 and then 26.85 for the pack. So both batteries are, the total of the two would be 13.8 or 26.8. So they're still running pretty close together. So if you look at the screen up there, it says 13.34, but again, there's an offset to that meter, and now it's starting to tail upward. So presumably we're starting to get closer to the end of the curve. Okay, still charging. We're approaching 6 hours, about 10 minutes to the 6 hour point. I'm still holding it a little over 4 amps and about 13.46 on the voltage. And it's leveled out. It's been running flat here on the other one at that voltage now for a couple of hours actually. But based on the past, that's kind of normal, so it's going to run a little while, and then it'll start kicking up. It's whatever the program is in the charger. All right, it's 9 hours since we started this process, and it's still sitting here at about 4.3 amps and about 13.5 volts. So it's gradually creeping up, but it hasn't made the corner yet. So it still thinks it's not done. I'm limited by length of day, so I'm going to shut down and suspend the test right now, and I'll come back and fire it back up and continue this. Okay, we're back up and running. The charger's back engaged. It's at 13.45 and about almost 9 amps at the moment. We'll see how long it takes for that to taper off. You can see on the chart here for the last so many minutes that the current is pretty darn constant at about 9 amps, 8.5 to 8.7 amps. So the current's consistent around 8.5 to 8.75 amps. The voltage is actually slightly dropping as we get these batteries rolling again. I'm back. It's been about 2 more hours of charging, and the system is up to 13.62 on the main battery, and that current's back down to 4 amps. So it started at 8 2 hours ago and tapered itself back off again. Seems though, if I look at trends, that the voltage is continuing to increase. I think we're nearing the end, but if I go look at my other system, you can see that the voltage is trending upward over the last 20 minutes. It's come up from 4.8 to 5.4, and it's continuing to head upward. So that's the good news. That looks like it's getting close to trending to finish the charge. So we're going to keep an eye on it here. I did do a transient here at the 2 hour point, just to see how this would operate. I disconnected the charger, turned it off, let it sit for a minute, and then I refired it. And when it restarted, the current goes up to close to 7, and now you can see it tapering back off. The voltage dropped off since it wasn't being charged, and now the voltage is working its way back up again. And my hope was to see if it would maintain a higher charging current. It looks like it's going to taper back down to the 3 amp level, and the voltage is working its way back up again. So just a measurement. It's just a measurement of charger response. That was what I wanted to see. And I don't know how long it takes for the chargers, I'll call it non-volatile memory, whether it has any and whether it remembers where it left off. But you can see it's recovering back to its previous point pretty quickly. Alright, it's been a little less than an hour, between 45 minutes and an hour since my last time out here. And you can see the voltage is now at 14.44, which is up where it needs to be. And my other display is saying 14.36, just a little lower. But you can see that it's come up dramatically and leveled off. I'm looking at my old charge profile. If I was at, in the 13.67 range before, that it should take about 45 minutes. You go, this is in minutes, so if I was there, I was about 9:20. 40 minutes is 9:60, and 9:60 will get me up here to almost 14.5 volts. So I'm in the last hour, it's made that swing. So we're just about done, and the Battleborn people said that it needs about 20 minutes above 14.4. So I'm going to look at my data here, and that will equalize out the system. And once that's done, the batteries have topped up. The current is down to what, 0.6, 0.7. The voltage is at 14.44, 14.45. So right now I'm above. We're considerably above 14.4. So right now it says 14.37, and I know that's. I hate to keep doing this because I don't have a means of adjusting the offset on that meter, but this 14.37 is actually 14.44. So if I go back to where we take about 1/10 of a volt off, if I go back to where it crossed 14.1, which is over here, that was at about 165 minutes, and we're now at 185 minutes. So we're basically limited off, and we've hit the max. Now the charger will keep going until we hit 14.6. I'm going to sit here and let it run for a few minutes and watch it. We're definitely on the tail end of where the current's going to go. We're down to very, very low. And the voltage is coming up pretty fast. Now, if I go back to my chart, the difference between 14.4 and 14.6 on there was, a couple of hours. 9:60, so there's 1 hour, 2 hours. I'm not going to wait that long. Since the battery folks said 20 minutes, I'm going to make sure I get the solid 20 minutes up here and make sure I'm well above 14.4, so that the equalization function in the battery battery management module inside the battery can get all the cells equalized out. So we'll hang out here about another, I'll give it about another 10 minutes or so, and then we'll call it good. Okay, I'm going to call this one done. It's showing 14.57 on this one, and 29.17 on the total. based on the trends. We've been, above 14.4 for almost a half an hour now, well more than 20 minutes, so they should have equalized out. And I've leveled off here on the chart, and again, that's 14.5, 5 or 6 actually, which matches up. So I think we have a successful charge. So I can shut down the generator and put things away, and we'll see how it runs on the second charge cycle. One thing of note, I mentioned battery management. I don't know if you caught that, but these lithium batteries, a battery is a set of cells, and there's an electronic set of circuits in there called a battery management system that monitors the individual cells, and it has software that balances them out so that they don't drift too far apart. Because you could have one cell that wants to be a little low and one cell that wants to be a little high in voltage, and over time, if they spread, that's not good for your system. So for a lithium battery, what they do is use these microprocessor controlled systems that go through and send current out and balance, charge the batteries independently if necessary to get them balanced up and equalized out. So, but it should be through that, we should be through that phase now, so I'm going to shut her down. So what does all this mean? Now we got the batteries charged up. This is the summary of the full charge cycle. And I'll just point out at the top, this is off of one battery. And I did adjust the data now, that 0.06, so it lines up with the monitor and with my other digital meter, and data is now consistent. The main thing to note, first of all, near as I could tell from voltage, if you start at this point, is that the batteries were about 55% charged, or about 45% depleted. It took, in terms of time, here's 10 hours, 11 hours, 12 hours. So it took 12 hours to get up that far. Now I ran a video previously on the charging curve, but I didn't have an idea what the current looked like, and it was causing me some difficulty. So this time, with the new battery monitor on there, I was able to actually see the charging current at any point in the charging process. So if you look at this, the red curve that says battery voltage is over here on the left-hand axis, and so you can see this is voltage. So the red, right there is 13.35. The blue in the charging current comes over here to the right-hand vertical y-axis, and you can see how that current drops off. Now, before I had this data, I was under the thought that this 20 amp charger, which puts 10 amps on each battery, would run 10 amps of charge current right on through until it got to the end. The reality of life is, though, here's the 10 amp point. It started at about, just a little below 9 and dropped off rather rapidly. And then through this whole time across most of the hours, it's running at about 4.5 amps, which isn't very much. Now this anomaly is where I shut the charger down overnight. And when I came back the next day, or 2 days later, and I fired it back up again, the charger comes in and it hits it harder initially and puts more current in it initially, because it really, I don't think, remembers where it left off. And so it's checking to adapt itself to the current state of a 12-volt battery. So once it did that and got the current in it, then it dropped the voltage for a little bit. And then the voltage climbed back up. And this current spike, I don't know, it may have been a little bit longer. I don't have good data on exactly how long it ran. But certainly within 10 or 15 minutes, it was back down here running at 4 amps again. And so then it ran across here,
Here's a spot where I momentarily disconnected the charger and reconnected the charger, and you can see the difference between the voltage that you have when it was actually charging to when the charger got turned off and then back on again. And then you can see it come up, get past 14.4, almost up to 14.6, and then I shut it off and let it start to relax. Essentially, the answer out of looking at these curves, this is really what explains why you want a lithium-based charge profile. Now, this charge profile works. Battleborn said it was okay to use. It keeps the charging voltage within range. It does not exceed 14.6, which is their upper limit, but it's a compromise. Because the charge profile is designed to follow a 12-volt battery, if this was a 12-volt lead acid battery, if this was a conventional lead acid battery, it would want to charge somewhere in this range. And as the voltage comes up, the current naturally tapers off. If you run your lead acid batteries with a charger where you can see the current instantaneously, I have some chargers like that. You can watch it taper off, and 13.5, 13.6, that's a typical charge range for a 12-volt battery. Battleborn's suggestion was that if you buy a lithium profile charger, you'll see that charging voltage, I should say, be up around 14.2 or so. And it will hold a higher current at 14.2 and shorten this charge time up. So, in terms of how many amp hours I had used out of the battery and how many amp hours I had to put back, let's just say here was 10 hours. If I did 10 hours at 4 amps, that's 40 amp hours. Well, I said I was about 45% discharged. That's consistent. It's doing what it should do. If I want the batteries to charge faster so that the generator doesn't have to sit out there on the dock for 2 days or all day, then I need something that runs at 10 amps. And in order for it to run at 10 amps, I'll need a charger that runs with a lithium profile up here around 14.1, 2, 3, somewhere in there. And then at the end, even that lithium profile will want to get above 14.4 for a little while. Now, if I left this alone, the standard lead acid profile would keep this and hold it at 14.6 for several hours. The lithium doesn't need that and actually doesn't like that. If you get above 14.4 for, as Battleborn said, they expect 20 minutes. That allows the cells to be balanced and get things settled out. And I'm going to explain once more what this balance means. When you have a lithium pack, in particular, the batteries, the cells are about 3.2, 3.3 volts, depending on exactly how their state of charge is. And over time, you have a lot of those 3.3 volt batteries in there. And when you start getting up here to the full charge point, some of those may be because of variation in the batteries, some may be charged at 3.4, some might be charged at 3.1. And that difference isn't good over time. They'll drift. And that 3.4 may become 3.5, and the other one may become 3.0, and the pack will become misbalanced. So the battery management system will look at those individual cell voltages and say, ooh, this one's too high and this one's too low. And it will work to charge the low ones up to match the upper ones and bring a little off the top of the others so that they'll equalize out at their nominal voltage. And that's something that, these kinds of batteries need to have happen. And Battleborn indicates that their battery management system needs to be above 14.4 volts to kick in that algorithm that will balance them out. So for now, this charger works fine. The price of using this charger is a long charge time because you really don't get I'll call the advertised charge rate. And that isn't the fault of the charger, it's the fact that I didn't buy a charger with a lithium profile because I already had this very nice Promariner charger in my boat already. So I can continue this way, or I can go look for a better charger and see if I can, shorten this time up and burn less gas in my little Furman generator. Secondly, or finally, last comment, I don't understand yet why the charge monitor didn't reflect the amount of charge depletion that was in the battery. The voltage was correct, but the number of accumulated amp hours was wrong. And I am just going to run it another charge cycle and watch it and see what happens. And I'm going to presume for a moment that it could be an anomaly in, it's a brand new system and it was the first time I ran it and the first cycle that it ran. And let's see what it does on the second cycle. It is certainly nice to have that monitor in there because I can watch that voltage and compare it against the chart and go, wow, I know that I need to go charge things, and that makes life a whole lot easier. And having the Bluetooth where I can just walk out on the dock and turn it on and log, have it logged in and see what my batteries are doing is really nice. So that is all I have for today. I'll provide updates in the future as things progress.